Hello and welcome to Middle East Matters. I'm Hala Mohyuddin. Coming up in today's show, a bloody end to Ramadan in Iraq, hundreds killed as the IS group unleashes more terror in Baghdad. Israel announces plans to build more settler homes in occupied lands, despite a warning from the Quartet this will damage chances for peace. And hope triumphs over adversity. We meet the Syrian refugee, hoping to turn her dreams into Olympic gold. Now, Iraq is ending the holy month of Ramadan with 3 days of mourning after a horrifying attack in the capital that killed over 200 people. The Islamic State group claimed responsibility for Sunday's suicide blast and left not just horror in their wake, but mounting anger too, as Luke Schrago reports.
Iraqis work to clear the ruins from a shattered Baghdad street, a day after an Islamic State group's suicide bombing left hundreds both dead and wounded.
May God punish those who are responsible for such a bombing. So many people are still under the debris. The rescue crews couldn't exhume them so far.
It was the deadliest attack of the year by far, and one of the worst in a decade of conflict, with city streets full of people marking the end of the day's Ramadan fasting. Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi visited the site in the hours after the attack. He announced moves to improve security, including upgrades to equipment and increased scanning and intelligence, but the furious crowd was having none of it.
I swear to God, this government's a failure. All the departments of this government are failures. They're the ones who brought terrorism here. Some of them are complicit with those who did this.
There's been a recent uptick in such attacks on the population from the Islamic State group, linked by both Iraqi and foreign officials to the extremists' losses on the battlefield over the past year.
Well, suicide bombings are one tactic the IS group deploys. Booby traps are another, particularly in Fallujah, the Iraqi city recently liberated by government forces. Schools and residential buildings are among those filled with explosive traps by the extremists before they were chased out, all of which is preventing the tens of thousands of Fallujahs from returning to their homes. Tiptika Laurent tells us more.
This refugee camp was created just a month ago when Iraqi forces began their operation to take back Fallujah. Tens of thousands of residents have fled here despite the searing desert heat and unsanitary conditions. 7-year-old Kadi spends his days indoors, lying down. He and his brother were seriously injured after stepping on a mine.
He was doing what kids his age do. He was playing a little game while walking, and then suddenly he stepped on a mine. The doctor says he'll never regain use of his arm and leg.
In a nearby tent, 14-year-old Samira is still in shock after her family home in Fallujah was bombed during the night.
We were sleeping when our house was hit by an airstrike. We realized that everyone was injured. I wasn't too badly hurt. But my daughter, she lost her left leg.
Women gather inside the barracks at the entrance of the camp, desperate for news about their missing male relatives.
How long has your husband been detained for?
10 days.
10 days, okay.
We fled Fallujah by the river. We found a land route, but then the army arrested my husband and took him away.
This woman has not heard from her 4 sons in weeks.
They were arrested, but they have nothing to do with the Islamic State group. He was a police officer, and he worked in an exchange office. They are all innocent.
An hour away in the desert, around 2,000 men are detained here in this cramped holding center. 8 groups say the detainees are all Sunni men who were indiscriminately arrested by pro-government Shiite forces when they took over Fallujah. According to the government, the men are suspected of being linked to the Islamic State group.
We've been here for 20 days without seeing our families. We are sick and tired of this prison. We are innocent.
During the month-long battle to take back Fallujah, around 85,000 residents fled the city. Today, it's a ghost town of rubble and destruction. Government forces say they need to clear the city of booby traps and landmines left behind by the jihadists. According to the UN, residents could be allowed to return as early as August.
Well, relations between Israel and the Palestinians are once again at breaking point, with over 200 Palestinians and 30 Israelis killed in a wave of violence since October. Well, despite the tensions, Israel has approved some 800 new homes for settlers in the occupied West Bank. The controversial plans include greenlighting the construction of some 600 homes for Palestinians in an Arab neighbourhood of Jerusalem. Well, this comes just days after a stark report from the US, the UN, the EU and Russia was released. The Quartet warned Israel's settlement expansion and land confiscation plans were destroying any possibility of a two-state solution. Catherine Clifford has more.
560 new homes to be built here in this West Bank settlement to the east of Jerusalem, with approval granted by the Israeli Prime Minister and Defense Minister. The Palestinian Liberation Organization was quick to condemn Israel's latest move.
The essence of the conflict is the Israeli occupation, its crimes and constant aggressions. Any attempt to equate the situation of the occupying power and of the Palestinian people under occupation is considered morally corrupt and a flagrant bias in favor of the occupation.
Israeli media also reported a green light had been given for 240 new homes across other settlements in East Jerusalem. Settlers in one of them, Pisgat Ziv, celebrated the news.
What's good for the Jewish people is a blessing for all the world, and it can only be good to combat terrorism.
Israeli daily Haaretz also reported 600 homes would be constructed for Palestinians in Jerusalem's Beit Safafa Arab neighborhood, drawing criticism from far-right politicians within the coalition. The paper quotes an Israeli official saying the settlement expansions were a bid to sweeten the pill for right-wingers upset by the Beit Safafa plans and seeking a strong response to recent Palestinian attacks on Israelis. Settlement watchdog Peace Now says the plans will do nothing to protect Israelis from violence.
This is not an answer to terrorism. It is not going to save even one Israeli person. It is just a policy that is meant to destroy the possibility of peace. The true answer for terrorism is making peace and ending the occupation.
France has condemned the decision, saying no developments on the ground could justify it.
Now, they have no home, no anthem, no flag, but they do have hope. Hope, that is, of becoming Olympic champions. A special team will be taking part in this year's Rio Olympics. 10 refugee athletes competing under the Olympic flag. Well, one of these athletes is 18-year-old Yusra Mardini. She's one of hundreds of thousands of Syrians who fled to Europe across the Aegean Sea last year. Laurent Berstecher takes a look now at her incredible story.
Following her dreams, Yusra has been swimming since she was 3 years old, and her passion may have saved her life. Last August, she fled Damascus and embarked on a rubber dinghy to Turkey with her sister. But the engine broke during the crossing, and the crowded boat threatened to capsize. Yusra, her sister, and 3 others dove into the water and pulled the dinghy to safety. They swam for over 3 hours.
I am an athlete, I am a swimmer. That's why I think I'm alive, and that 20 people are alive in this sea journey. It's gonna be a big shame to drown all of us.
Yusra was arrested several times, but her unwavering determination eventually brought her to Germany. And despite a traumatic journey, her passion for swimming never faded. Since a local club offered to let her use its pool, she's been practicing 6 hours a day.
Training, she's really good and she's doing very well, and she surprised me every time.
Swimming has also helped Yusra fit in. She now leads the life of a normal high school student, even if she's still struggling with a few things.
Learn German. It's really hard.
The young refugee is determined to give it her all, And if she doesn't make it, her eyes are already set on the 2020 Tokyo Olympics.
It's not important to be German or Syrian or under the Olympic flag. I think the important thing is in the water.
A passion that knows no bounds, Yusra's story has become a source of pride for many refugees and an inspiration to follow their dreams.
And finally, tributes have been pouring in for the Iranian filmmaker Abbas Kiarostami, who died in France, aged 76. Kiarostami has been hailed as a towering figure in world cinema and emerged from the Iranian new wave of the late 60s to become one of the world's most revered directors. He won the Palme d'Or in 1997 for Taste of Cherry and has been praised by Hollywood legend Martin Scorsese as a true gentleman and one of our great artists. While in tribute, we'll leave you with a clip from his acclaimed work Close Up, and we'll see you again at the same time next week.